If you're feeling pressure right now to create an AI strategy for your organization, there's a good chance you're about to make this harder than it needs to be. Because what most organizations are experiencing right now doesn't actually start with strategy. It starts with something much quieter. AI showing up in small ways, across different teams, without much coordination. And the instinct is to jump in and try to control it, to build a plan, define a strategy, standardize everything. But if you do that too early, you're not building clarity, you're building assumptions. And that's where things start to break down. So in this episode, we're going to take a step back and talk about what actually needs to happen first, before you even think about an AI strategy. Welcome to the AI Beginner Podcast, where we take a calm, practical approach to understanding and applying AI in the real world. I'm Steve, and if you're responsible for workflows, teams, or outcomes, this is where AI starts to make sense. No hype, no pressure, just a clearer way to move forward.
Listen to questions.
This week's listener question comes from Craig. Craig says, "We've started seeing AI tools pop up across different teams. Some people are using ChatGPT, others are trying different tools, and some of these tools look a little crazy, and to be honest, there's no real structure around it yet. I have no clue where to start with all of this. Leadership is starting to ask questions, and now there's pressure to put some kind of strategy in place. It just feels a bit all over the place. And honestly, I'm not sure where the heck we're supposed to start." Craig, this is a great question. And more importantly, it's a very common situation right now. Because what you're describing is exactly how AI starts to show up inside most organizations. And this is where I want to slow things down for a second. Because what you're seeing right now is not a failed rollout. It's not even a bad situation. It's actually the normal starting point. AI doesn't enter organizations through strategy. It enters quietly. One person trying something, another team experimenting, someone automating a small task. And before anyone really steps back to look at it, it starts to spread. Different tools, different approaches, different levels of understanding. No shared structure, no clear direction. And that's the moment you're in right now. Not broken, just unstructured. And this is where most organizations make a very predictable move. They feel the pressure. They see things starting to spread, and the instinct is to step in and say, "All right, we need an AI strategy." And on the surface, that sounds like the right move. But here's the problem. If you try to build a strategy right now, you're building it on top of incomplete information. You don't actually know where AI is being used, what tools people are relying on, which workflows it's helping with, or where it might be creating risk. So what happens is, you end up creating something that looks structured, but isn't grounded in reality. It feels like progress, but creates friction, because now you're trying to standardize things that you don't fully understand yet. You're trying to guide behavior that hasn't even been clearly identified. And this is where teams start to feel it. Confusion, resistance, inconsistency. Not because people don't want direction, but because the direction doesn't match what's actually happening. So instead of things getting clearer, they get heavier. More rules, more uncertainty, less confidence. And this is the part that most people miss. The issue isn't that you need a better strategy. It's that you're trying to introduce one before you have clarity. So instead of jumping straight into strategy, this is where you want to take a step back and focus on something much simpler. Clarity, not a full plan, not a big rollout, not a complete framework, just a clear understanding of what's already happening. Because once you have that, everything else becomes easier. And here's what that actually looks like. You start by asking a very simple question. Where is AI already being used? Not in theory, not what leadership thinks is happening. What's actually happening? Who's using it? What tools are they using? What are they using it for? Emails, summaries, research, small automations. You don't need to map everything. You just need a small, honest snapshot. Talk to a handful of people, 5, maybe 10, across different teams, and just listen. What are they trying? What's working? What feels helpful? What feels risky? Because in that moment, you're not trying to control anything. You're trying to understand it. And that's the shift. From reacting to observing. From guessing to seeing clearly. And once you do this, even in a small way, things start to change. Because now you have visibility. You can actually see where AI is showing up, how it's being used, and where it's starting to help. It's no longer a guess. It's something you can point to, and that alone starts to reduce a lot of the uncertainty. But it also creates something else. Confidence. Not confidence because you have all the answers, but confidence because you're no longer in the dark. You're starting to understand the landscape. You can have better conversations. You can respond to leadership with something real instead of something assumed. And then this is where it really starts to shift. You get direction because patterns begin to show up. You start to see where AI is actually useful, where people are getting value, where things feel messy or risky. And now, instead of forcing a strategy, you can start to shape one based on what's already working, based on what actually matters. And that's a completely different position to be in. Because now you're not reacting. You're building on reality. If you want to take a step back and understand where your organization stands right now, the best place to start is the AI Readiness Score. It gives you a quick baseline and helps you identify what's missing. You can take it in just a few minutes at aibeginner.net/start.
AI hot tip.
Here's this week's AI hot tip. Before you try to get better at using AI, take a step back and look at where it's already being used. Because most of the time, the fastest way to improve how AI fits into your work isn't by learning something new. It's by understanding what's already happening around you.
Optimistic AI thought of the week.
And here's this week's optimistic AI thought. The organizations that move forward successfully with AI won't be the ones that move the fastest. They'll be the ones that take the time to understand what's actually happening first. Because once you have that clarity, everything else becomes easier, better decisions, better direction, and a lot more confidence in how AI is being used. If you'd like more practical resources for navigating AI in the workplace, you can find guides, tools, and the readiness assessment at aibeginner.net/start. And if you found this episode helpful, consider sharing it with a colleague who's trying to figure out how AI fits into their organization. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Schnitzelbeats and circuit dreams. Welcome to the show of machines. Grab your bites and join the scene. AI beginner, let's turn the screen. AI beginner, pros to you. Hey. AI beginner, let's compute.